Welcome to Simply Sarah. I'm Sarah Stock, I'm your host, and I am so pleased that you are carving out time, whether you are joining us live or you are coming in, watching it when it fits into your time or listening when it fits into your schedule. We are so delighted that you are here. Every week we have conversations, the team and I, about what is it next that we're ready to have conversations about as we're thinking about you as entrepreneurs and as leaders. As we come into this conversation today with Megan North, I think that you are going to be so excited because the conversation is going to be exactly what you have been looking for and ready to listen to. Megan, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Sarah. It's morning here for me in Sydney, Australia, and we are not coping very well with our winter. It's very cold for us. We're having a particularly cold winter, so hence why I've got a jumper on and a couple of other layers.
Yes, so smart. And I am so pleased that you're able to fit us into your schedule because, Megan, you are somebody who is really, really busy with all the different things that you are doing. And yet you were able to pull everything together under one umbrella. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Absolutely. I have, for probably majority of my corporate career life, been straddling two worlds. So I've had a very strong and successful corporate career, but I've also had my woohoo side, as people call it, or my spiritual side. And it was about 10 years ago that I decided to start my own spiritual business. And so I was doing angel card readings and healings. And when I first started that, it was very quiet. I was still working in corporate. I had a very successful career in working in human resources. And I was very quiet about the launch and about doing this thing because even 10 years ago, you kind of didn't really talk too much about other things that you did outside of work, particularly business. It was always, and particularly here in Australia, in Sydney, you often just had that one job, that corporate career, and you didn't do anything outside of that realm. So I did keep it quiet for a little while. But then as I started to work with clients, I started to really trust and tune into my intuition. So then when I was at work and I would talk to people, I had this feeling that I knew that I could mention to them that I did angel card readings or that I had a modality of healing. And so that confidence, I think it's confidence, the confidence starts to build because you're really trusting your intuition as to, can I talk to this person about this or not? And so over the last 10 years, over the last 3 years, I then left the corporate world and started a coaching business. And again, I had that separate to the healing business. So earlier this year, I decided that actually it was time. I had a healing or a reading with a woman that's in the US, but she's an Irish mystic. Mm-hmm. And the guidance that I got through that reading was incredible. And one of the things that they kept telling her that then she kept telling me was she kept saying, it's all in your name, Megan. It's all in your name. They keep saying it's all in your name. And she said, what do you think that means? And I laughed and said, funny, about 3 months ago, I looked up my name and megannorth.com to see if it was available, and it was. So I bought it. And her reaction was, oh my gosh, naturally. And so that was that true guidance for me to actually start to look at, can I bring the two businesses together? And actually, can I then rebrand? And I don't like to say show up authentically. It's, I guess, showing up as my whole self. Yeah. So not having these two businesses, coaching, corporate, and then the spiritual, it's now under the one umbrella and the one banner. And so that was the decision that I made. And it's really incredible what has happened to me over the last couple of months since I've made that decision. And incredible opportunities have come to me that have been so left field that I would never have imagined or even thought about doing. So it's a beautiful it's a beautiful little thing that's happened for me this year. I suppose maybe more little, but it's a beautiful thing that I feel like that I've had this gift given to me to be able to show up as my name.
Oh, that's so incredible. And I really believe that each of us here we are here as a vibration. And as a musician, I think of an orchestra, and that each of us is part of that celestial orchestra. And so,
Mm,
if we can have that vibration and have it be really in tune, and that we can play it confidently, that doesn't necessarily mean loudly or um, in a bossy way, but it just means that we are able to be at peace with who we are and able to come from an open heart and to share the gifts that we embody. And what an
mm.
amazing thing that is. And for you to be embodying your name, Megan North. And I love your logo that it has the North Star in there, right? What a beautiful, beautiful thing that is.
Yes, yeah. And the interesting thing, Sarah, is that I think we often make assumptions about what people are going to accept and what they will and won't accept. And I'll give you an example of that. So when I decided to show up holistically, I then needed to I do some business networking, and every fortnight I go to a different group, and you do a 40-second pitch. So you talk about who you are and then what referrals you want. So it's not about selling to the people in the room. It's actually asking the people in the room, can you refer me to someone? This would be my ideal client. It's beautiful. It's a really lovely
Very
networking
lovely.
group.
Yes.
And I remember driving there probably about 6 weeks ago with my new pitch in my head to not just incorporate mental health and wellbeing in the corporate workshops, but also saying I'm an oracle card reader and I'm an energetic, intuitive coach and healer. And so I had it going through my head. And it was really interesting because when I got up and I pitched, I was fascinated by how many people came up to me, including men, to say, "Oh, tell me more about your intuitive coaching," or, "Oh, tell me, I didn't realize you did cards," or, "Tell me more about that." And so I think it's actually a really lovely lesson as well to trust that what you're doing will be accepted anywhere, and
Yes.
then other people didn't ask me, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm not here to ram it down your throat. I'm here
Exactly.
to offer the gift. So I think it was a really nice lesson that I learned, that don't just assume that showing up holistically, you're going to, I guess, separate the people that you're already connected with, because I actually then had very different conversations with people, which was really lovely.
I truly believe that when we find our voice, when we find that thing that we are here for, that we become so much more attractive.
Yeah.
I so appreciate in America, we had um, Thomas Jefferson, who thought that education was only for the elite. And then we had Benjamin Franklin, who said, no, it's for everybody. And they
Mm.
had the agreement that everybody should be able to read and write in order to be able to vote, to be part of a strong democracy.
Mhm.
But they had very different ideas about how that would go about. Thomas Jefferson thought that you would send your children off to England or UK and have them trained there. Benjamin Franklin really believed that learning with your hands, being able to do something, being an apprentice, which is what he had been for his brother, is really the important place. And I just think that in our education, at least in America, I'm a recovering teacher, in our education in America, that we have so moved to looking at what the test is going to be and making sure that the people that we are teaching can jump into the hoops that the test is requiring, that somehow there isn't much time in a day to do the mental health, to do the whole person, to talk about the arts, to have conversations about when we are stressed, how do we move forward through that? When the people in our household are stressed, how do we move forward with that? And I
Mhm.
really appreciate what you were sharing earlier, Megan, about being in the corporate world, particularly being in HR, human resources, and really choosing to not talk a lot about other things that you were doing from the standpoint that often HR is very, very much about these are the rules and everybody
Mhm.
needs to follow them.
Mhm.
And you and I understand that there is another way of looking at things with different eyes. And the way that we have found to look at that would be through a spiritual eyes, or seeing things through perhaps a shamanic lens, or seeing things perhaps through ancient teachings or ancient writings. And so
Mm.
that space of being able to say, I know that I can put on this suit, I know that I can be in that space, and I know that I can do that job exceedingly well because you have, but
Mm.
also then to be able to say, and there's so much more. And that's just such a delightful thing that you've come to this place of an umbrella, right? That you
Yes.
have this gorgeous umbrella that is, that you are putting all the different pieces that in the past you have kept separate. And now in this place that you are allowing them to be together. How
Mm.
delightful.
It is, Sarah. It is really lovely. And, I think one of the things that I needed to really embody was the courage to do it. And one of the reasons that I say that is because when you listen to people who are telling you to, when you're listening to people who are suggesting how to show up in the world, they're always talking about what's your niche and what's your ideal client.
Mhm.
And for me, I find it difficult to actually have one box with what is my niche and my ideal client.
Yes.
And I'm an Aquarian, so I follow rules, but I don't follow the crowd, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. So
It
to
does.
give you an example, as a child, everyone had a Mickey Mouse watch,
Mhm.
but I didn't want a Mickey Mouse watch. I got a Kermit the Frog watch
Yes.
because I didn't want everything that everybody else had.
Right.
And so for me, I've had to be confident and have the courage to actually say, I'm not a niche. I actually am an expert and I have beautiful skills in quite a few different areas. And
Yes.
actually, I'm not going to just pigeonhole myself into one because, and I feel that that is very corporate. It's you go to work and you do this one job. If someone wants to change a career, that's kind of changing, I suppose, now, but usually you start and that's what you do for the rest of your life. And so, yeah, I've had to really embrace that courage and you know what, I'm actually really believing in myself and the things that I'm doing. And so this is, I'm not pigeonholing myself. I don't have a niche. I have lots of beautiful things and gifts that I can share.
I'm just taking that in because it is so courageous to come to a place of saying, thank you very much to all the business coaches out there who are saying it needs to be just like this. And
Mhm.
you're not the first person that I've had a conversation with in the last 3 months who
Mm.
has said, I don't want to pigeonhole myself. I don't want to be seen only as there is so much more. And what if we looked at the pain and the suffering and we said, we can help? And this was
Mhm.
what the other person had said. And I just thought, oh, that's such a great way of looking at it rather than saying, this is the only pain or suffering that I'm capable of working with, of saying,
Mm.
I know how to help people process, move forward, have a vision for their life because I see them as capable. I see them as having the ability to work through things and the confidence to be able to do those, to take the steps to move forward. And
Mm.
because as a coach, when you have that, that just opens up so many doors for the person who is stuck in some way or feels stuck in some way.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really interesting.
Let's take a quick break here, but when we come back, I'd love to have you talk about the neuroscience, the things that you have been working on for years that you do, and to have you just share a little bit more about that with us.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Sarah Stockham. Recently, we were doing some renovation work, and as we were doing all of the decorating, the color blue, specifically cobalt, kept showing up for me in different areas in different ways. And I thought, what I really want is a signature piece that is in cobalt. So I went to Glass Arts Collective and found this amazing piece. I absolutely love it. In fact, when it arrived, my husband wanted it. It is so beautiful. It's nice and heavy. It was perfectly packaged. So when it came, there was no concern at all about if it was going to show up all right or not. I love that it's handmade. I love that it's unique. And I invite you to go to the glassartscollective.com and go shopping. Pick something up for yourself. Pick up some gifts for others. I know that you will enjoy how beautiful the work is. I truly believe that you, like me, are really getting so much out of this conversation with Megan North. The idea of being able to take these different things that we do and put them underneath one umbrella. What a beautiful, powerful concept. Megan, I know that one of the things that you have been so instrumental with helping people with has to do with neurosciences. Can you share a little bit more about that? And I'm going to give you the full stage as you do this.
Sure. So one of the techniques that I work with my clients is neurotransformation therapy. And neurotransformation therapy is a blend of neuro-linguistic programming, so NLP, and working with the Theta brainwave. And I was really interested in NTT, as it is called, because the healing modality that I actually specialize in is theta healing, so the theta brainwave. So we're in the theta brainwave between the ages of 2 and 6. And that's actually when we take on all of our belief systems. But if you think about when you are between the ages of 2 and 6, you don't normally have your own belief systems. I know I didn't. I don't think I was sitting in my high chair at 2 or 3 thinking, this is my belief. So we're usually taking on the belief systems of our parents, our grandparents. It can be ancestral. It can be cultural. You could be taking on the belief systems of your neighbours next door, your friends that you go to school with, their parents, all of these different ideas and beliefs that we take on. And so what we do is we go through our lives and we subconsciously have these belief systems. Now, sometimes we know them because, we may hear our parents talk about them all the time. So an example for me was one of the things that my parents used to always say was money is the root of all evil. And so I had subconsciously taken on that belief system. And so I needed to do some work on that as I got older because I don't believe that. Money is just energy. And I needed to do some work on that to make sure that from an abundance block point of view, that wasn't one of the beliefs that I had. And so when we blend this then with the neuro-linguistic programming, it's a beautiful blend of being able to take someone along a timeline. So what we do with the NTT in particular, if I'm working with a client, is I actually take them out of what has happened, so the trauma that they've had, and I take them on a timeline back to where it started. But I take them on a holistic, like a helicopter view, so that they're actually just looking down at what happened. They're not in the emotion of this. And I actually think it's beautiful, particularly when I'm working with clients that they've had some stuff that's been really heavy in their background that they actually don't want to relive it. And I don't want them to relive it, but we need to view it to be able to actually see what was happening and what was happening to you as a person. And so if we blend that then with the viewing that and then looking at the belief systems that they've actually taken on as well, it's incredible the insights that you get, because there may have been a traumatic event that they believed was traumatic as a child, and they've taken on this belief system. But when they actually take out the emotion and they're viewing from above, it may have been something that actually wasn't as traumatic as what they thought. But then they get this belief system in place, and then there's a story attached to it. And so they often have these aha moments of, oh my gosh, I have been holding on to this story and this trauma my whole life. And actually, when I've looked at it, it didn't happen that way, or it did happen, but it wasn't as bad as what I thought when I was maybe a child or a younger person that couldn't comprehend what was happening at that time. So it's incredible. It's a really beautiful way to work with clients, that they don't need to go into that traumatic experience. They can just view it and have a completely different view. If you have a view of something with no emotion, wow, it's a game changer. I think it's a complete game changer. Yeah.
And I love how you described it. That is so, so beautiful. Yes, we are in that theta brainwave from 2 to 6, but don't we also every day, as we are going to sleep and then waking up, don't we also have access into that theta brainwave as well?
We do. And that's why that a lot of suggestions are made to do your manifesting or your praying or your gratitude work and those sort of things as you're waking up in the morning, or as you're going to bed falling to sleep at night. Yeah. Because you're in that brainwave. So it's when all those belief systems can come in, and they really resonate with you, and go into all your cells and your DNA and all of that. Yeah, definitely.
I had a mentor who encouraged us to wake up at 4:30 in the morning in order to be able to do all these practices when the ether is the quietest. And I just found that to be such an interesting idea of not just using the theta waves, but then also to be considering all of it's flying through the air during a typical day, of people having conversations and news and that kind of thing. It's happening around the world 24/7. I understand that, but to be in the particular place where you are, to have that be a little bit quieter in order for you to be able to just move forward on some things faster. So
And it is interesting at that time of the morning too, isn't it? Because it's a weird time. I always think it's a really weird time of the morning, because it's not night, but it's not quite morning yet. And so it has this very, depending on the headspace that you're in, it can have like quite a very eerie type of feel to it, because you're not quite sure where you are. Should I be awake? Should I still be sleeping? But for me, it is very, very quiet. And a friend of mine is a palliative care nurse, and she says that a lot of people do pass away around that time too, because you're in this weird void of time. Yeah, it's interesting.
It really is interesting. The other thing that I have learned about theta waves is that during that time, if you're going to be doing, first of all, listening to our own voice. So if there's work that you want to do with affirmations, or things that you say to yourself and about your future, to record your own voice doing it. Add a little music behind it. And yes, you need to wake up enough to be able to turn it on, but to be listening to that as you are waking up, listening as you are going to sleep. And again, you have the whole thing about, do you put the ear pods in or not? I understand that, but still accessing and using, making use of that time as we are coming awake and as we are going to sleep.
And that's really interesting, Sarah, because I've not heard it before, to say to record your own voice. But as you said that, I thought, wow, that makes sense, because then it's you telling you. So your body already knows your voice, it knows your vibration.
Yes.
And I could imagine that would help you create and manifest a lot quicker.
And when we are manifesting, they need to be in alignment with our own values and beliefs. So I can say that I want a pink polka dotted car, but if that's not in alignment with my values and my beliefs, I can say that as many times as I want to, and it's not going to happen because it's not in alignment. And so again, coming to that place of What do I believe? I love that you talked about this earlier. And then what are the values that I hold? And are they really my values? One of the signals that I use is my emotions. When something is upsetting to me, that is such a great time for me to look at the signal of the upset to see what it is that is rubbing against a belief or a value that I have. And then it gives me a chance to say, do I still believe that, or do I still value that? And so using our emotions as that space also of helping us to be able to manifest in a way that's faster and better and truly easier.
Interesting. And I was talking to somebody the other day about this when we're manifesting, is that we also need to be open to other things coming our way. So when we put our logic, human brain into a manifesting, we might say, as you said, a pink polka dot car.
Right.
So the universe might say, well, actually, I'm going to give you a new car, but it's not going to be pink polka dot or whatever. But we need to be open to, and I say it's trust, then I go into that really strong trust mode of actually the universe and all our guides and our beautiful angels and people who have passed over, they want the best for us. And they can see our whole umbrella view of what our life is going to be. So I think when we're manifesting, it's also having that trust that, okay, I was manifesting this, but actually this something left field has come along, and I'm trusting that that's the way I need to go, because the universe is going to give us stuff in mysterious ways that we don't know. We don't know their view. Yeah. So the trust when you're manifesting, or if something doesn't come your way, I know when I was manifesting my beautiful husband, I dated a couple of guys before that, but I had to trust that actually, no, they're not the right men for me, and that I kept trusting that the right person will turn up.
Yes.
And so it's going, okay, well, this is what I thought it would be, but actually now it's this.
It's so interesting that you say that, because I have a card here on my desk that I just wrote this week and picking it up. And it says, I am focused because I know what my goals are. I know what it is that I'm after, right? And then it says, I am open to how it presents itself. In that space of exactly what you were saying, just because we want something doesn't mean that we get to dictate exactly how it's going to show up. We get to be part of the energy. We get to be part of that magnet, drawing it in. But there are so many other pieces at play that we need to give space for that. And I love how you talked about trusting, coming to that place of that peaceful heart, that confidence that I know this is what I want. I want to be open to the possibility of how it's going to show up.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And then being completely astounded when things happen that
Yes.
when things left field come along and you laugh about it. I'll give you an example of that. A couple of months ago, I was given an opportunity through the networking to go to a local community college that it's nearly 100 years old. It's a very successful community college. And I was given an opportunity to go and speak to the two ladies that run the college and the courses. And I was there to talk about my mental health and well-being, things that I can do, and some of the courses that I run and that sort of thing. And it was in this time where I was learning to talk about the fact that I was rebranding and showing up as a holistic person. And there was a lady there that ran the government run courses, and then there was a lady that ran the lifestyle courses, so yoga, pottery, those sort of things.
Yes.
And she picked up my business card and she said, oh, this is beautiful, I love your logo and your colors. And I said, oh, sorry, interesting that you say that, because I'm actually going through a rebrand. I'm merging two businesses. And she said, oh, well, what's your other business? And I said, oh, I do oracle card readings and I'm an energy healer. And she said, tell me more about the readings. And I was like, oh, okay. And the conversation then turned into, we've had someone teaching the class here, tarot card readings for years, and they don't want to do it anymore. And I was just about to look for a new teacher. Would you like the job?
Yes.
Oh, it was so funny. And I remember driving home in the car thinking, what just happened? This completely, like, I would never have thought about teaching how to do an oracle card reading. I do it naturally myself, but
Right.
so it was one of those moments where I
Mhm.
I was filled with gratitude. It took me 2 seconds to say, absolutely, yes, I would love to. But yeah, it was one of those moments of something that just came in completely the opposite direction that I did not expect.
If somebody is considering the work that goes into rebranding, the
Mhm.
work that goes into putting different pieces together, what advice would you give them, Megan?
Good question. What advice would I give someone? Make sure that you have a really good support network around you. So I'm lucky enough to have somebody that I've worked with for a while who's also a really good friend of mine who does my website. And she thinks completely differently to me. And I love that because she challenges me. So I love having people around me, particularly in my business, that actually then challenge me. Why are you thinking like that? Why are you doing it that way? And for me, from a website point of view, I really value that. And so I have leaned on her a lot of, okay, well, this is what I think it should be, but what are your thoughts and why? And I think my new website looks a little bit different to what I thought it was because I had in my head, whereas she's actually given me the reasons behind what's in the market at the moment, what's working well, those sort of things where I wouldn't have known that because that's
Mhm.
not my expertise.
Yes.
I think the other thing too is that I didn't ask a lot of people about it. I tend to just, this was my decision. I did ask a couple of people when I was looking at my logo,
Mhm.
and I asked to a couple, like a married couple in particular who were very close to me, and asked them their opinion. And they
Mhm.
actually came back to me with some honest feedback and said, we don't like this and for this reason. And I really respected that because I was
Yes.
thinking, oh my gosh, isn't the logo amazing? And this and this and this. And when they gave me the feedback, it was actually perfect feedback.
Mhm.
So I think it's about, again, surrounding people that you really
Wow.
trust and getting their opinion. But at the end of the day, then just doing what you want to do. I think because at the end of the day, this is you showing up, this is you and your brand. And I don't always take on everybody's feedback. I
Mhm.
listen to it. Sometimes I take it on, sometimes I just listen. So I
Mhm.
think it's just about having the right people around you and not asking 1,000 people what you think.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Yes. Because if you ask 1,000 people, you're going to get 1,000 different answers. And then what do you do with that? Right.
Correct.
And
Yep.
if spirit has told you to do something, it's probably laid out pretty well somehow in your being, in your mind, and just to keep following forward with that. I know that I recently was talking to somebody who was writing his master's thesis and got to a point and said, I can't finish it because know so much more and I know what direction I need to start over in. And everybody around him was saying, no, don't start over. You're, 2/3 of the way done. And he said, I am starting over. I am making this decision. It'll take longer, but it'll be authentic. And I just thought, wow, what courage to say, I know that I know that I know that this is
Yeah.
my next step to take that. And then to put your shoulders back and just breathe into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that at the end of the day, my rebranding really doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. And so things change in people's lives. And so, maybe a friend of mine might do the same thing. And I either like the rebranding or not. But honestly, life moves on. I'm not going to sit and agonize over the fact that, oh my gosh, I can't believe my friend did this and this is awful. Really? I don't want to say this in a negative way, but at the end of the day, no one really cares. Do you
Right.
know?
Right.
Like,
Right.
just make the decision and move on. Just move.
Yes. I was thinking of a piece by Picasso, and I don't think that he really cared what other people thought. And I don't know that he made a lot of money during his life
Yeah.
selling things. There may have been a few people or some followers. But he was so determined that he was going to express what he saw. And I fully understand the need to have funds coming in and being able to have food on the table and pay for electric bills.
Yeah.
I fully understand that.
Yeah.
But I think that we sometimes push so far into the I'm worried, I'm fearful, I'm concerned. And that when that happens for me, it's like putting wet wool blankets around my ankles. It becomes so difficult to move forward. And if I can take a moment and look at what is already in place, what is already generating income, what is, and then look at the creative part, how can I mold these together in a different way? It truly is amazing what can come together. I'm going to share a quick story here for just for context. We were away and I had taken work with me to get done. And I fully expected to get 8 hours of work done while we were gone during this particular week. I knew that we'd be driving distances and I didn't think I'd be using any of that time at all for it. But I just knew that I'd wake up early in the morning and have the ideas and I'd sit and it would just come together. I came back from that trip exhausted and frustrated. I had literally gotten 5 paragraphs done and they were done in the car on the way back because I was determined to not arrive home and to not have anything done at all because I'm part of an accountability group. And yet, when I said, okay, this is where the chips lay, right? I then sat down in my quiet place and said, I have an hour to work on this. And my desire, I missed part of the story. Each morning I would wake up with a new idea about how to pull the project together. So when I did finally get home and had 3 mornings of very, very clear, this is how you do it. And so when I did get home and I did sit with the project, I got so much done in less than an hour. And I'd set aside an hour to work on it and yet got so much more done in a faster pace. I share that because I believe that we can be in places where we have personally created deadlines and things that we want to get done in a certain way. And yet Spirit still needed to talk to me and to share with me a better way. And as I'm finishing up the other chapters of this project, I am going to use the same ideas that I got in those early Theta brainwave mornings of try this, work this way on this project, Sarah.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it incredible how when we catch ourselves the way that we talk to ourselves, we would never talk to other people the way that we talk to ourselves at times. We can be so hard on ourselves, beat ourselves up and give ourselves such a hard time. You would never, ever talk to your friend or your family or your husband or partner or like that. You would be encouraging and you'd be saying, it's okay, take another week. It's all right.
Right. Yes.
For us, I don't know what it is. I don't know why we can be like that for ourselves. Yeah.
In that space also, there is this wanting to show up and to not have faults. And maybe that's just part of my own childhood and my own unraveling of things. I have siblings who always seem to do it right the first time. And I just shared with my mom recently, I'm 59, she's 89. And this last week we had a difficult but beautiful heart to heart. And I shared with her and I just thought, I'm going to say these words. I'm going to say, I'm just so different, Mom. I'm so different than the rest of the family. Do I fit in the family? Yes. But do I feel super comfortable in my family of origin when we get together for these beautiful get-togethers? I'll be washing dishes. I'll be in the kitchen. I'll be, you know where you can find me. I won't be sitting out necessarily. And that's going to be part of my challenge for the next time that we all get together is to sit and just to be in their presence and to feel how I feel and just to notice how I'm feeling and allow that again to help me see what my beliefs are and my values and to determine if I still have those same beliefs and values that I did when I was 6 years old and 13 and 27.
And I love that point that you made too about your perception of your siblings, that they all got it right the first time.
Yes.
And so, they're the stories that we tell each other as well, isn't it?
Right.
And so
yes.
I'm social media has got a lot to do with that at the moment too, in the sense of people just see people's lives and think that, oh my gosh, it's all rosy and all of those sort of things. And one of the things that I love, there's a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he talks about, and I'm sure that probably a lot of people know about this book, but he talks about that when you're working towards something, just do 1% a day. And because he says then over 365 days, you've done 365% more.
Exactly. Yes.
But the thing that I love the most is that he talks about that, someone could be chipping away, doing all these things slowly, 1%, for 10, 20 years, and then they get a break, and then everyone calls them the overnight success.
It is so true, Megan. Yes.
Yep. And so I think that for you, I think it's interesting because it'd be, I think, maybe a lovely conversation for you to have with your siblings to say, when this was my perception, this is what I thought, that you got it right the first time. Yes. I bet there's going to be instances where they didn't. And it's just these stories that we tell each other.
And I think it's not just the stories and the belief. I think it's also the not taking a breath. It's in those moments of stress that I come across thinking that if I take a moment and breathe, my sisters and I we're walking life together. We're all figuring it out as we go forward, right? I can look back at their life and go, yeah, I'm the youngest, but I still remember that. And so it's not that I see that they are perfect, but there are these moments that will feel like that. And so like you were talking earlier about coming to a helicopter view, come to a different perception, come to a place that is not filled with emotion, and have an opportunity to look at those same pieces and to see if it's going to be different at all or not.
Yeah. And then just take a non-emotional view at the story that is connected with that too, because we make up these incredible stories about something that happened that I know as I've had things in my life. I'm the youngest of 6. And I know through my life that I've said da 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 da, and one of my siblings has said, that didn't happen. Like, why did you think that happened? Yes. I was like, no, it did happen. They're like, no.
I've had that happen too. Yes.
So we take these things through our life and we have this story, and then, yeah, interesting. It's very interesting.
It is. So good. So good. If you could, friend, have a conversation with absolutely anybody, that person could be somebody who's living today or not. It can be somebody that you have read something about their work or that you have been introduced to them at some point. Who would that person be? And what topic would you want to have a conversation with them about?
I think for me, it would be my parents. So I've lost both my parents in the last 10 years. And I am extremely connected to them. Like, I hear my mum all the time, and my dad, before my dad passed away, he and I decided how he would show up to me in a physical form when he wanted me to have a message. So he shows up to me as, I don't know whether you would know this in the US, but it's a willy wagtail. So it's like a blue wren. So they have like a little tail that sits up and it's got blue. So he and I had this very long conversation about a week before he died. How would he show up? And so for me, I feel very connected to them, But I would love to, and so I do get a lot of messages, but what I would love to do is sit down and just talk to them more about their childhood and have more interest in them as my parents, and learn more about them, I think, because I feel like that I didn't do that enough as a child growing up. I don't think I asked the questions of, well, why did this happen, or who was that? I don't think I was curious enough as a child as I grew up. So it would be, give me the top 5 things that happened in your life that I wouldn't know, or those sort of things. Yeah. So I don't regret that. It's not a regret. It's just that, I think it's more of I wish I had been more interested in them as people when I was younger. Yeah.
I fully understand that. And my father has been passed for more than 14 years, and he was somebody who was such an encourager. Could see that I had different gifts. My family is in science and medicine, and I can do that, but it's not where my heart is. And so, and he could see that. And so there are times that I will say, okay, Dad, we're going to go out for a ride together. Get in the car with me. Let's go for a drive.
Yeah.
And we have conversations. And so I fully appreciate what you're saying about coming to those places, or creating that with, particularly with your father, creating that before he transitioned. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. I feel very blessed. And it's interesting because a few people that I have told about him and the bird, they've then called me and said, "Oh my gosh, I was out in the park and your dad was with me." And that's really nice as well. So, or one of my brothers rings me and says, "Oh, Dad was at work today," or "I'm sitting out the front and actually I'm at work and he's sitting on the fence and I'm having a chat to him." So it's really lovely that then he shows up for others as well. It's really nice. Yeah.
That is so good.
Yeah.
And Megan, our time has gone so quickly. I have loved this conversation. Are there things that you would like to reiterate as we are coming to a close?
I think that the more compassion and kindness that we can have for ourselves, the better.
Thank you.
And I also think that let's connect more with people with kindness and compassion as the energy, because we don't know what's going on in someone's life. We don't know what's happened to them that day. And I think that if we can connect with kindness and compassion to ourselves and then others, I think that life is beautiful. Yeah.
And it also allows us then to be present. You cannot, in my experience, you cannot be kind and thoughtful and compassionate and be thinking 8 minutes ahead or 16 hours back. You have to be there in that particular moment. And I love that message of choosing that, to be present, to choose kindness, to choose compassion.
Yes. Yeah.
Such a beautiful thing.
And something that I shared with a friend the other day is I said to her, "Did you know that the same letters that spell listen are the same letters that spell silent?" And she was, "What? Oh my gosh." Like, she was like, my mind is blown. And I think that, if you can sit and listen to someone, you will learn so much by just being silent and listening.
So good. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join us, Megan.
No problem at all. Thank you so much. And I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope that all the viewers have enjoyed it as well.
Yes, wonderful. And to our viewers, we say thank you so much. You are amazing. We know the industry standard for how long people listen, and you listen way past that. And so we say thank you. And we also say that we are so grateful to be on this journey with you. I know that I'm learning, the team is learning as we are having these conversations with different people who are thought leaders, people who are coaches in their own right, people who are leading leaders and entrepreneurs, and just so grateful that you are here with us.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I am the founder and owner of Lamano Art. I began this business over 20 years ago. I specialize in paintings of all kinds. I make murals, portraits, and live paintings. My specialty is color and also telling a story. Some of the work that Lamano Art does are calligraphy pieces, wedding invitations, sign work, and sculptures like fairy doors. I'm open to working with anyone on any idea. Please feel free to contact